Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. I hope that you're having a good week so far. Ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I just want to tell you all, especially those of you that have subscribed recently, thank you very much for joining our awesome community. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not an expert in anything, all right? I am a person just like you. I am just your average Joe that wants to live a nice, peaceful life, and all I'm doing with you is through this platform is sharing with you my life and sharing with you what I think about certain things. It doesn't mean that I'm always right. So do your research. All right? I do these videos because I want to encourage you to do your research. I want you to go out there and validate for yourselves. That way you can take action and be better prepared for you and your family. Okay? Because unless you validate for yourself those things that you feel are true to you, because in all actuality you make your own reality. You know how some people, you can show them a fact right in their face and they say, nope, it's not true. No, it's not true. No matter how often you say, but look, this is a rock. This is a rock right here. And they're like, no, that's not a rock. You make your own reality. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so do your research, because the consequences of your actions, it is you and your family that will have to bear the burden if you're wrong in what you do in order to get prepared. All right, so I just wanted to put that out there, because what I share with you are the things that I do, is the way that I feel about something. And I share with you articles like I'm about to share with you now, things that will hopefully inspire you to not only get prepared, but that if you are prepared, to continue preparing, to continue filling in those gaps, to reach one and teach one, and then continue that cycle by repeating it, and hopefully more people, because of you, will become prepared as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that what I said makes sense, because I don't want to sit here and talk to you as if I am a know-it-all, because I definitely don't know it all. Let me tell you that right now. It's just I've found some things that work for me. However, for some people, it may not work. Some people are 100% by the book, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to judge. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that that helps those of you that may be new subscribers, because this show right here, what I do here is kind of like all over the place. I put up a canning video, I think it was yesterday, depending on when I released this video, was either earlier today or yesterday. I put up a canning video, and then I put up a video talking to you about food shortages, which I'm going to talk to you about right now. Then I put up a video telling you about hunger and about why it is that I think that the U.S. will continue to export. Anyways, I'm all over the place here, because what I'm doing with you, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm sharing with you what I do on a daily basis, as far as my thoughts on what's going on in the world, and as far as preparedness as well. Having said that, before I start, I do have a couple of review videos, maybe 3. One of them is a review video from a fellow community member that kind of like invented a really awesome gadget. And another one is going to be another solar generator. Yes. So this is going to be the second one that we give away to someone that lives here in Alaska that can get to the Fairbanks area. Then after that, we're going to start doing it back to the continental U.S. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you that don't know, I do review videos on solar generators, or on, mainly solar generators, because I really love solar generators. And whenever I do one, I try to get the company to offer me an additional 1 or 2 so that I can use it as a giveaway towards the community. And for all of these years that I've been doing these reviews, I've never really given any away to anyone that lives here in Alaska, because it costs so much to ship them up here that the companies refused. But the last one that we did, we gave away to an Alaskan, and he has been notified, and he already talked to me. And this next one that we're going to do the same thing with this one, give it away to an Alaskan. Then after that, we'll open it up to the continental United States again. All right, so I hope that you stand by for those. And man, I know I'm rambling on here, but I have another review that I'm going to do that someone is sending me. It still hasn't gotten here. That is really awesome. Man, let me stop. So ladies and gentlemen, 3 factors which are about to make the coming food shortages even worse. We're all talking about food shortages. It seems that every single day there's a new video on food shortages. There's new news on food shortages, and that's exactly why I'm going over this. Is because we have to keep abreast of what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. That way we know when to take action and how much action to take. All right. When will be the last day that you are able to go to the supermarket if you depend on food from the supermarket for food? When will that day come? Will it come? And how prepared will you be? That is why I like to keep us abreast of what's going on with food shortages around the world, not only here in the United States. However, let me go ahead and fill you in on a little tidbit that I got from one of our community members I talked to this weekend. He resides in New York, and he says that the food lines in New York, they are incredible. He says that they are the worst that he's ever seen in his life, and that most of the food is now being handed out by churches because the food banks are running out. In a way, I'm trying to get you, motivated to go out there and prep, but never trying to scare you. If you're prepared, and if you are preparing, in the process of, that should take anxiety away from you. It should make you feel better about your situation if something bad happens where you cannot get things that you normally get for your family on a daily basis. All right, so that should take away anxiety, not add anxiety. All right, here it says a confluence of circumstances has come together to create a perfect storm. I've talked about a perfect storm a lot in the last couple of years, and it seems, ladies and gentlemen, I personally feel that that perfect storm is coming sooner than later. I want to sit here and say that I think we have at least another year and a half. And let me tell you why. Because I think that food is still going to be available for the next year and a half. That we're not going to see a major shortage, meaning that there's just no food on the shelves. I believe that there will continue to be food on the shelves. But what will happen is that the food is going to get so expensive that many people are going to be priced out of the food market. Meaning that they're just going to exist on what they need to live instead of what they've been used to living on for the past several decades. I hope that makes sense. And they continue to say here, the perfect storm for global food production. And now that perfect storm is about to get even worse. For months, I've warned this crisis was coming, and the author of this article is Mr. Snyder, I believe. Yes, Mr. Snyder from the Economic Collapse blog. And in recent weeks, I have been documenting how dire conditions have already become all over the globe. The head of the UN Food Program is warning that this is going to be the worst worldwide food crisis since World War II. And even the president is admitting that the approaching food shortages are going to be real. Unfortunately, there have been some new developments which threaten to significantly escalate things. And that's what we're going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, those new developments. And this gentleman from the UN World Food Program, he actually did an interview which is pretty eye-opening, and it was sent to me by one of our community members. I'm going to go ahead and leave that interview of this gentleman, and it's definitely a must-watch. It's probably about, 6 minutes long or so. I'll leave that on a pinned comment under this video. Okay, so go check that out because it's definitely worth watching. And here he continues to say, in recent days, the number of newly confirmed bug cases in China has soared to record highs. And Chinese authorities have responded to this with unprecedented lockdowns. And you all know that the Chinese pretty much go overboard with their lockdowns, where they actually physically lock people down, meaning that they bar their doors shut. Last video I saw, I think there were some barriers around buildings to keep people from even leaving the perimeter of their buildings. As a result, almost 400 million Chinese are now under full or partial lockdown. 400 million. Why is that a big number, ladies and gentlemen? Let me explain to you why, to me, it's a big number. It's because here in the United States, we get most of our stuff from China. Now, I know that many people have contentions about we shouldn't be getting our stuff from China. I agree 100%. But we don't have the manufacturing capacity here in the United States for us to provide for ourselves those things that we've been accustomed to having on a daily basis. So until we can revamp our manufacturing capacity, then we are going to be dependent on imports, ladies and gentlemen. That's why that 400 million is a big deal, because that's about 1/4, between 1/4 and 1/3, I think, of the people that they have in China. And that's a lot of workers. Nearly 400 million people across 45 cities in China are under full or partial lockdown as part of China's strict zero policy. Together, they represent 40% or 7.2 trillion of annual gross domestic product for the world's second largest economy, according to data from Nomura Holdings. Analysts are ringing warning bells, but say investors aren't properly assessing how serious the global economic fallout might be from these prolonged isolation orders. Chinese lockdowns are a lot more brutal than lockdowns in the Western world, and we covered that. To put this in perspective, the number of people that are currently locked down in China is greater than the total population of the United States. Now wrap your head around that, ladies and gentlemen. Needless to say, these lockdowns are bringing the Chinese economy to a grinding halt, and that is going to affect the entire planet. At the port of Shanghai, activity is essentially at a standstill. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the world depends on China for their cheap products. That's all that there's to it. The port of Shanghai, which handles over 20% of Chinese freight traffic in 2021, is essentially at a standstill. They say here that food supplies are stuck in shipping containers without access to refrigeration, and they're rotting. So all of that food, ladies and gentlemen, all of that energy and expense has gone to waste. Food is not something that you can just make like this in a 3D printer. At least I don't think you can just yet, right? But even if you can make food in a 3D printer, you still need that energy input, right? So it's something that has to be manufactured, produced, whatever you want to call it. You still need that energy input. So it's not something that's instant. We're not in the era of Star Trek just yet. This is an enormous problem for those of us in the Western world because our stores are normally filled with goods that have been made in China. And if you all remember the video that I did where I got the spare parts for my vehicles, you'll remember that most of those spare parts I showed you were made in China. A few of them were made like in Malaysia, I believe some in Mexico. I was surprised to see that one part was made in Israel, but most of them were made in China. And this even extends to our food supply. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately it does. For example, we sent giant mountains of apples to China where they are processed and then sent back to the United States as apple juice, which to me, I just don't understand how that works. How we grow food here, send them the raw food, and then they send us back a finished product instead of just leaving it here. For a world that is mostly screaming all the time about climate change, doesn't it make sense to keep the apples here in the US and process them here and not have to have the expense in whatever you want to call it, carbon or money or oil or whatever, of shipping it there and then bringing it back? We need to hope that the lockdowns in China ends soon, because if that does not happen, it will likely create tremendous shortages all over the planet. And who knows, ladies and gentlemen, some people may say this was all planned. Some people may say, well, China knew this was coming. That's why they stocked up on a year to a year and a half's worth of food for their entire country. Meanwhile, the fertilizer crisis, ladies and gentlemen, is still going on, and it's going to get even worse. He says here, I have written about the skyrocketing cost of fertilizer is going to cause massive problems for many U.S. farmers. And now many of those farmers may not be able to get the fertilizer they need at all due to railroad mandates and shipping restrictions. I'm guessing that, well, not guessing, I read an article here, I think it was over the weekend, where now, let me see, the train containers, right, or the train carts that haul fertilizer, now they're being restricted to only being able to haul, I think, 80% of what they normally haul. So now there's even more restriction on how fast the fertilizer can get to the farmers during the time of the year where they need it the most. So now prices are going to escalate even more. I've been talking about this for several months now. I've been saying make sure that you are prepped by summer. And I did a video that says something like drop dead date is going to be summer. Meaning that if you're not fully prepped by summer, that you're going to have a very difficult time prepping up. Because I feel that during the beginning of summer and the beginning of fall or autumn, we're going to start having real heavy food rations, ladies and gentlemen, because manufacturers or processors, they're going to realize that they just don't have the inventory and that they're not going to have it. So they're going to start rationing heavily during that time frame if we don't get our act together and get these farmers the fertilizer that they need and pretty much everything else that they need in order for us to be able to have a good planting and harvest. I remember reading an article here a while back where there was a farmer who was waiting on a $40 part for his $250,000 tractor. And the tractor was just sitting idle because it couldn't operate unless it had that $40 part. And he'd been waiting on it, I think it was for like 2 months thus far at the reading of that article. And he continues with the bad news, ladies and gentlemen. At the same time, the new bird flu pandemic in the U.S. just continues to intensify. We need to get prepared. All right? You need to go out there and do whatever it is that you can to prepare. Because these things that are going on, they're all leading indicators. Meaning that, we've had the bird flu here for a while now, right? For a few months, and it's spreading throughout the U.S. And I think that we're at about 30 million birds that have been called, something like that, right? But have egg prices really become unaffordable? Not necessarily, right? You can still go out there and get eggs and things like that, all right? And I'm just using the eggs as an example. But like these fertilizer problems that we're having, these are leading indicators. We're not going to really realize these things on the price of food going forward till later on, right? Till later on. So the prices that we have now, even though they're elevated, they're going to become even higher and higher as the year goes on, as these leading indicators actually evolve and manifest into the problem that they really are at the actual store shelves, at the actual supermarket shelves, at the actual register where you're going to pay more for it. So these are things that we can actually go out there now, stock up, and then when the price of flour goes up again, because the price of wheat went up, when the price of sugar goes up again, when the price of corn really goes up, because now they're using corn an extra 5% for ethanol to put in vehicles. Even though it's bad for vehicles, they're still doing it. And even though we need the corn for food, they're still doing it. But that's neither here nor there. I digress. So these are leading indicators. That's why I liked to read these, so that you can say, wow, this is probably going to come to be in the future. Let me go ahead and stock up now. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced yet another outbreak. This one is in 2 flocks in Idaho, making it the 27th state in which the virus has been found since February. According to the USDA, the price of a dozen eggs in November hovered around $1, and right now it's almost 3 times as much at $2.95. The cost of eggs has already gone completely nuts, and it's going to go higher. If you don't eat eggs or anything that contains eggs, this will not affect you. Well, I think it will affect you, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why. Because usually when the price of okay, let me put it this way. If you eat nothing but steak, right, and then the price of steak doubles or triples, right, what do? If you cannot afford to absorb that price increase, maybe you go to pork. So now you have a lot of people going to pork, and now pork is going to go higher. Probably the same thing with eggs. And here he goes on with the price of chicken. Chicken meat and the cost of turkey meat will both continue to soar as well. In fact, one of my readers just wrote to let me know that the price of chicken breast at his local store shot up 43%. Now, I know that there are some places out there still in the U.S. where the price of chicken is very reasonable. I believe it was an email that I got yesterday where someone told me that they were buying chicken thighs or chicken quarters for like 49 cents a pound. Now, if you're lucky enough to be in an area where you can, capitalize on those prices, by all means, go out there and do it. And she did, because if I remember right, she says something like she bought like, I don't know, 18 pounds or 36 pounds, something like that, and she was going to pressure can it. A lot of factors that are contributing to this growing global food crisis are out of our control. Ladies and gentlemen, do what you can control. I keep stopping to intervene and say something, but it's that he's hitting a lot of points that I've covered in the past. Do what you can do. Because these things that I'm talking about here, the bird flu, all right, the fertilizer problem, is that something you can control? No, but you can control the outcome of what happens to your family because of these factors that are going to involve our food security, right? So do what you can control. And one of those things is to prepare. And he goes on to say, but if we could end what's going on in Ukraine, that would give us a ray of hope. Unfortunately, negotiations have totally broken down, and U.S. Secretary of State told CNN that war could continue through the end of this year. These days, it seems as though almost everything that can go wrong for global food production is going wrong, and the stage is being set for the sort of horrific global famine that I have been recently warning about. Our leaders may be able to print money, but they can't print food. And I think he got that from the Ice Age farmer. First person I ever heard him say that. And yeah, it's true. They can print all the money that they want, but they can't print food. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the more money they print, the more your food is going to cost. So all of these little storms are coming together, and they're making a big storm, and it's going to affect your standard of living. To what extent? I think that it will to a great extent, especially those that are in the working class. If you're waiting for them to wave their magic wand and conjure up a perfect solution to this crisis, then I am afraid that you are going to be bitterly, bitterly disappointed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that I agree with everything that I've read here. I mean, this is going to be a time in our history that we will be talking about. I am so glad that we can document this, all right? That we can document this so that, 100 years from now, the history books, when they try to change the history books so that whoever's in charge then can have it, say what they wanted to say, that we can at least have these videos and articles archived to say, no, this is what was happening, instead of, the people that are going to come after us having to listen to someone that just made up history instead of us being able to document history here, either on YouTube or any other social media, or just downloading articles and statistics and things like that and keeping it on a thumb drive. Having said that, I know I made this video a little too long, so I appreciate you sticking around till the end if you are still here. All right, remember to be good to each other, ladies and gentlemen. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand that not everyone is in the part of their preparedness plan where they should be storing long-term freeze-dried food. But if you are, take a look at Nutrient Survival. I stand behind this food because it is the most nutrient-dense food in the market. It tastes great, they have outstanding customer service, and the company is run by great people that I call my friends. You're not going to find a more nutrient-dense food that tastes good and is reasonably priced when compared to other major brands. I wouldn't stand behind Nutrient Survival if I didn't personally use it and love it. So feed your freedom with Nutrient Survival.